Okay, good evening. Welcome to
FamilyMath255a.
FamilyMath255a. So there is a really cool math problem I saw in the New York Times today, and they called it the broken calculator problem.
Okay.
And so there's a long story, and I'll have you read it when we're done with this so you can see the story. And basically, you have a calculator and you accidentally drop it on the ground. Ah! Okay. And then it breaks in a really weird way. There's 3 buttons, and the calculator starts with a 0 on the display.
Yeah. 0.
Just like that one usually does, although I guess this one's 0's over here. And the only 3 buttons that seem to do anything now, there's one button that adds 5, there's one button that adds 7, and then there's one button that does the square root. And somebody says, boy, this is not a very useful calculator anymore. I can't even make the number 2. And then someone else says, oh yes you can. And that's the challenge. Can you figure out how to make the number 2? Using just the buttons that go +5, +7, and square root. So we're going to talk, you and I are both going to talk about this and talk through it and see if we can figure out what happens. And you can ask me questions or whatever you want. Okay, and I'm going to just get an eraser because as soon as you start pressing the buttons, the number on the screen of the calculator is going to change.
Okay.
Alright, so what do you think?
Well, seeing that we only have the square root of 5 and the +5, +7, and square root buttons, well, you'd have to find the square root, but the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, and we can't make 4.
Ah, but if we could make 4, that would sure be nice,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Well, but what we could do is we could make the square root, well, we could make square root the number twice, and maybe we get 2.
Ah, what number would that be that we could square root twice to get 2?
Well, then I think we'd have 16.
Okay, let's try that out. Put a 16 in there. Press the square root button.
It gets to 4.
Press the square root button. Where's the square root button? Press it. Boop. 4. Boop. 2. Okay, so great. So if we could make 4 or 16, we could make 2.
But it doesn't seem that we can. We can't really make it since we only have a 5 and a 7.
Okay.
So we could try something like the square root of something like that.
Okay, what number would that be?
I think that would it be 256?
Ooh, interesting. So if I had the 256 and I press the square root button 3 times, I'd get first, if it would write 256 up there, and I press the square root button, I get, press the square root button, I get
4.
Okay. Press the square root button, 2. Okay, so great. So now we found out if we could make 4, 16, or 256.
So now we have to make 256.
Okay. Or something. We have to make something. Alright. So what do you want to try?
Well, what I can do here is I'm gonna try to see if I can make something out of 5s, and then we can only make either maybe like something ending in a 5 or something ending in a 10. So we have to use at least 1 7.
Interesting.
So I was thinking of making something ending in a 0 and then make something ending in a 6.
Okay.
So 7 times 8 is 56. So we're trying to get to 256. So we have to make 200.
Ooh.
So we can do 200.
How are you going to make 200?
We can do 200 divided by 5. We can just make it out of 5s. It would be 45.
Okay, so what are you going to have to do?
Well,
You started at 0, right? Your 0 there.
0.
Okay.
Well, yeah. And then 6 out of 5 and 7.
Okay.
So we have to add these together, we get,
Yeah, but how? How are you going to do that? How, for example, are you going to make the 200?
well, you have to add, you have to add the 42s and the 8 7s together.
Okay. But how are you going to make the 200 on the calculator? What are you going to do to make that 200?
You have to press the +5
Oh,
button.
you pressed it.
We have to press it 40 times.
Ah, okay. After you press it 40 times, what do you get on the calculator?
You get 200.
Write it up there. All right, what comes next? What
Then
do
you have to press the 7 button 8 times.
Okay, what happens then?
Then you get 256.
Okay.
Then you have to press the square root
Oh, you
button.
pressed it. What do you get?
16 square root 2.
Nice job. Great work, actually. I'm gonna erase this so your brother doesn't see it. What you did, because I'm gonna go over this problem with him now, and for him, I'm gonna put the 0 over here, like it is on our calculator.
Okay.
That was really great work. I'm really proud of you. That was a fun way to make the number 2. Great job.